Hi everyone, welcome back.
Hi, friends,
Thought you
YouTube community. It's been about 2 years,
Two
right?
years?
Two
Yeah.
years since we've been on here. Um, we just had some personal stuff going on, but now we're back.
Mhm.
So we wanted to one give you guys an update on what we've been up to, and two give you an update on post-vaccine. Um, era and times and like if we got COVID, when we got the boosters, all that jazz.
Mhm.
And then, hobbies that we've picked up along the way. And what else?
I think that pretty much sums it up. Speaking of hobbies that we've been into, we've recently picked up knitting. So, you want to show them what you've been working on?
Yeah, so it's so funny because I called her one day and I was like, guess what? I just started knitting. And she's like, I did too. And total coincidence. Um, but we picked it up and we were like, we should have this be part of our program. So we're gonna eventually like start a program called like Craft and Chat, which is
Mhm.
essentially we're gonna have different things that we're doing while we're on, videos with you guys. And then use that as an opportunity to one, like just like debrief, but also um, do something fun, and you guys can join in and grab some supplies from Michael's or your
Mhm.
nearest, um, craft store. But you need to start talking about uh, like the past 2 years,
Yeah.
like since our last video, um, the booster,
Mhm.
everything, vaccine updates.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to even think. We last talked probably it was winter of 2022, like beginning of that year. We had just gotten the second booster. We didn't do so hot. So let's see. Next booster that I got, I think was later that year in September. That's when the bivalent booster came out. So it was like extra strength or something.
Do you remember what company it was from?
Yeah, I want to say it was Pfizer because I'm pretty sure I stuck with the same company that I went with in the beginning. So I did Pfizer. And
I
yeah.
think J&J also came out with something that was like one at the time we didn't know about it yet, but like they came out with a vaccine that was literally like everything is taken care of in one shot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the people who didn't get any of theirs could just get that one J&J.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. I forgot about J&J.
Um did you end up getting COVID after your booster? Did you get the booster?
Yes, so let me talk about my experience just
Yeah.
with that booster because that one was actually the worst one to date. So, when I got that booster, I remember I had probably the highest fever I've had in my life. I remember it was 102 point something. I don't think I've ever had a fever that high. I did feel absolutely terrible. And the worst thing about that one was it lasted 3 straight days, like 3 days of fever. Whereas the ones before, I think it was just a day, maybe a day and a half at that point. Also, like the muscle aches, body aches, things like that to accompany the fever. So I was not doing well. So clearly, with each coming dose that I've had of the COVID vaccine, I kept getting worse and worse symptoms with it. Did you end up getting the booster?
I did. So, long story, but I'll try to make it short. Um, I was planning on going on a retreat, a meditation retreat, up in California, and I didn't realize until the last minute that they needed us to have the booster, because it was like an on-land retreat. We were gonna be there for multiple days, so they wanted to make sure everyone is vaccinated. Um, so I ended up getting it, way later. I didn't have the symptoms I had with the second vaccine or even the first one. It was actually very mild for me.
That's good.
Um, but I mean, it was still uncomfortable. Like I still had a headache. I still had, the sore arm. It was just not as bad as the first two. Um, But anyways, my trip got canceled because it was so last minute, and they needed me to be vaccinated and having the booster 2 weeks prior to my trip. So, my trip didn't end up happening, but at least I got the booster, and so now, anytime I would want to go on something like that, I'm good to go.
Do you remember what company you got for the booster?
I believe it was Pfizer. It was so long ago. I don't even remember.
I know,
I'd
it
have to
was
check
so
my
long.
card. I have my card in my car. I have to check.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, nonetheless, it's over now, hopefully, and there won't be any more. I know a fourth one came out at some point too.
I think they did, yeah.
But I just never got it. Didn't think
neither.
it was necessary. That's just personal choice. Obviously, folks who are on the older side, it might be better for protection to get the fourth one. But for me, I felt like 3 was enough.
Me too. And I think just with the severity of the symptoms that I got from getting the actual vaccine, it didn't feel worth it to me, to just have that pain again. So I opted out with future boosters. So shortly after I got that booster with the terrible symptoms, I actually ended up getting COVID a little under 2 weeks later. And my symptoms were not all too bad, mostly cold-like symptoms. So I had the runny nose, the cough. My parents also did end up getting COVID. They did not have the booster at the time, and they had a fever. That was the only difference. I did not end up getting a fever. But I wouldn't say I want to get COVID again, but just with the symptoms that I got, overall it wasn't the worst. Did you end up getting COVID?
I did, but it was, I believe, after the second vaccine I
Mhm.
got. And it was actually, now that I think about it, it was after the first one.
Okay.
It was after the first vaccine. I hadn't gotten the second one yet. How far apart were the second and first vaccines?
Those ones weren't too far. I want to say like 3 months.
3 months.
Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, I got it after the first vaccine. My symptoms were actually, like, for COVID were pretty bad. Obviously not as bad as what I've heard with folks who didn't get vaccinated at all. Although everyone has different experiences. But I was actually in Vegas on a trip, and I got COVID the next day I arrived. So I couldn't really enjoy my trip. I don't know what it is with me and trips, but clearly it looks like I'm cursed.
Yeah, something about them.
But yeah, I got COVID. The whole trip was miserable. I was in the hotel room the whole time. Couldn't taste a thing. I had the one common symptom I've noticed with COVID is the burning sensation in your nose. It's like, it's very strong. And I don't think I've experienced something like that before. I have with common colds, but just not as strong, like the burning sensation.
That's interesting because I didn't have a symptom like that.
Okay.
It's interesting. Every person I know who's had COVID, like, no 2 COVIDs are alike. Everyone experiences it differently.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so hard to even compare, like, oh, mine was so mild.
Right.
Yours is more severe.
Right. It just depends on the person, different, like, environmental factors, just everything.
Yeah, even the strain that we might have contracted, who knows?
Exactly. I mean, the most we'll find out really is, like, if we're just doing, like, one of those take-home COVID tests, is like whether you have it or not, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's coming together.
Ooh, look at you. Show them. Guys, as an update, just like knitting update, I'm just doing regular stitching.
A knit stitch, garter stitch.
Yeah, a knit stitch. So, like, let me show you guys. It looks something like this. That's kind of what I'm doing on my end, and I think Yonita is doing the same thing, except now you're in the process of weaving it together. It's almost like looking like a quilt. So if you want to show them up front.
Yeah, let me finish
Sure.
this stitch and I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm combining these two patches together right now with a sewing needle.
What else were we gonna talk about?
What else were we gonna talk about?
I think that was it.
I think that pretty
Where
much
where
sums
we
it
have,
up.
I mean, kind of said like we've kind of gone through some personal stuff the past few years, so we haven't been able to be active on social media, unfortunately. We will eventually, once our subs start adding up. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. But eventually we'll start an Instagram channel as well.
Yeah. So keep your eyes on the lookout for that. Also, please feel free, any video suggestions, we would love to hear those. So be sure to leave those down below. Let us know if you missed us. We missed you guys. I know it's been so long since we've seen you last, but we're happy to be back and happy to be crafting along with you. Right, and thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and comment, and then subscribe to our channel too. We'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.